Hello and welcome to Critical Reading. In this brief video, I want to show you guys what it means to critically read and give you some pointers and some suggestions for how to tackle your reading assignments. So let's get started. So what is critical reading? Now, critical reading is a little different than reading for entertainment purposes. When we read because we want to, we're naturally engaged. We want to know the plot, the outcome, we want to know about the characters. Now, when we're reading to learn or we're reading for an assignment, it's a little bit more difficult because sometimes we're not naturally engaged or naturally drawn to the assignment. Now, critical reading helps you become engaged in the assignment. Critical reading is also known as active reading, so active participation. Critical reading makes you pay attention to what you're reading. And this is really important in academia because you are reading to learn. And if you read an entire chapter or go through an entire class and you don't pay attention to what you've read, have you really learned anything? No, you haven't. So there are some great techniques that I'm going to go over that'll help you pay attention to what you're reading and actively read and participate and ask the right questions. Along with paying attention to what you're reading, you are understanding what you're reading, the main idea, any supporting ideas, the author's purpose. That is, critical reading also allows you to identify conclusions, meaning discussing the outcomes of whether you're reading an academic journal or a piece of literature. Critical reading also helps you maintain interest in the material because, again, you're actively engaged. You're asking questions, you're looking for information, and that will make you become a more interested and critical reader. So now that we have a little bit of background on what critical and active reading is, here are some characteristics of critical readers, active readers. Active readers read with a pencil in their hand, meaning from start to finish, from before you even begin reading. And a critical active reader is taking notes, is asking questions, is looking for answers. They also read at a comfortable pace. And this is really important because when you're reading, especially for an assignment and to learn, it's not a race. A lot of students, you just want to get it done and over with, and that's fine, but if you are speeding through a reading assignment, then chances are you're not retaining the information. So you have to find a comfortable pace. So sometimes that means that you're not going to read an entire selection in one sitting. And you shouldn't. You really should block off your time, maybe 15 minutes at a time, 20 minutes at a time, half hour at a time. But find a comfortable pace for you and a good time of day to sit down and actively read. Critical readers, also known as active readers, also preview the reading material and any supplementary material. So if your teacher provides additional information about a topic, she's not doing that for her own good. If there's additional information about the topic that you're reading about, definitely take a look at it. It could provide you with an overview or even some additional background information about the topic so that when you read the assigned material, it makes more sense. You have it already put in context. Active readers also ask questions before they even start reading, while they're reading, after they're reading. So I'm going to give you some pointers for that aspect because it's really important to have a set of questions to ask, especially as you're reading a text. And then last, and very important, and this goes back to reading at a comfortable pace. If you don't understand what you read, go back and reread it. There's nothing wrong with that. What's most important is you understand what you've read. You retain this information. So go back and reread anything you haven't read. Don't stay stuck on a single word or sentence or even a full paragraph. Just make a note to come back to that particular part in the reading assignment. You might understand it after moving forward and say, oh, I understand what that means now because you have more context. But again, there's no harm in rereading if you don't understand a part of the text. Now, as mentioned before, critical readers ask questions from before they begin reading, while they're reading, and after they've finished their reading assignment. But what types of questions do they ask? Well, here's a general overview of questions that are asked by the best, most critical readers. And again, this helps you put your reading assignment in context. And when you're actively looking for these answers, then you're actively engaged. You're paying attention to what you've read. So here are a couple of questions that you can ask while you're reading an assignment. What is the topic and main idea? Very important. If you don't understand what the author's main idea is, you're going to have a difficult time reading the rest of their findings. Why did the author write this work? So if you have an idea of the author's purpose, their intended audience as well, this will also help you determine the relevance of the topic and of the main idea. How is the material organized? Does the author provide a cause and effect dialogue? Do they compare and contrast? Are they providing narrative? What approach to writing do they use? Did the author use reliable sources? If you take a look at, especially in scholarly journals, which at some point in your academic career you will have to read journal articles, you want to check up on the sources that were used by the author. And this helps you determine, a particular stance the author has or their frame of mind when they are making an argument. So it's always good if they use additional sources, check them out. Make sure they're reliable, they make sense to the author's topic. And then very important, what will I need to know about the topic when I finish reading? Again, your teacher gives you information and reading assignments, not for herself, but for you to learn something. There's always a learning outcome. And what is that goal? What is it that you need to know by the time you finished a reading assignment? In addition to those general questions, there are some specific critical reading techniques. There's actually several, but here are four of what I find to be the most helpful for college students. Previewing your reading, annotating your text, composing a summary and a reaction, and using supplements and additional resources. So what does it mean to preview your reading? Well, a couple of suggestions here. First, try working backwards. Now, remember how I said earlier, you have reading for entertainment and then you have reading for learning. When you read for entertainment purposes, you don't want any spoilers. You want to go through, just like as if you go to the movies, you want to go in and enjoy and watch the process unfold. Same thing with reading for entertainment. Reading for learning, on the other hand, there shouldn't be any spoilers. So work backwards. If there's a summary, read the summary first. If you're reading a scholarly journal, read the abstract, which provides an overview, and then the summary. Because what happens there, your summary is an overview of the most important key points in the body of the paper or the reading assignment. So you'll have all of the answers in a nutshell, but you still need to take a look at the details. So when you read the summary, or also known as a conclusion, when you read that first, you have everything that you need to know in a nutshell in context. You just need to go through the reading and find the details and get a clearer picture of the author's purpose and goal. The second little point here, this is my absolute favorite. You know how at the end of chapters or stories in textbooks, there's those post-reading questions? why don't you answer those as you're reading? So write down those questions and look for the answers. It's sort of a word search. Think of it as a word search. You have that list of words and then you're looking for them and you're actively participating and engaged in that word search. But think of that, those post-reading questions, answer those as you're going through the story. And again, this will help you find the most pertinent and important information. Review the background information about the author. This is also great because you'll have an idea of where the author's coming from, their purpose, why they're writing, what their interests are. Identifying the main idea. Again, this is very important. If you don't understand the main idea about the topic, you're going to have a difficult time completing the reading assignment. And also reflect on your knowledge of the topic. A lot of times, we don't realize this, but we already have some background knowledge about the author's topic and main idea. So think about that. Think, oh, what do I know about this topic already? And make that connection. It'll definitely make your reading assignment go by a little more smoothly and quicker. Annotating the text, and this sort of goes with previewing your reading. I always tell my students, don't be afraid to write in your textbooks. Unless you rent them and you have to send them back, then, use a separate sheet of paper. But again, active readers read with a pencil in hand, so take notes as you're reading. If you don't understand something, highlight it, bookmark it, just flag it in some way that you can go back and say, okay, let me reread that, let me see what this means. And also to annotate the text, this is a good opportunity to summarize what you've read and practice paraphrasing for if there's an essay that corresponds with your reading assignment. So rewrite sentences or entire paragraphs in your own words. This will help you stay actively engaged in the reading assignment. And also, we always understand concepts and terms and ideas better when they are written in our own words. Composing a summary and a reaction. For a summary, just while you're reading, again, put what you've read in your own words. Create like a Cliff's Notes version of that, meaning you want to create a shorter, more succinct to the point version of what you read. So if you've read a 20-page chapter, try to summarize it in 2 or 3 pages. And when the time comes for a test, for example, it's much easier to review 2 or 3 pages versus 20 pages. A reaction, this is your opportunity to maybe in a paragraph or two, make a link to what you thought and felt about the reading material to, what you've learned. When we have emotional responses to whether it's a movie or TV show or reading assignment, we'll remember it more. So make that emotional connection. And last but certainly not least, use supplemental material. Yes, you are assigned specific reading selections, but that doesn't mean you can't use outside material and sources. If you don't understand a topic, you can always look elsewhere. Of course, ask your teacher for help first, but if you're more of an audiovisual learner, for example, why don't you hop on over to YouTube and see if there's any videos about the story you're reading or the topic that you're learning about. You can also check out this website, it's a great website called SlideShare, and teachers and professors post their PowerPoint presentations and brief lectures. So again, if you're an audiovisual learner, sometimes you want to use maybe a video to supplement the reading assignment. Cliff's Notes and Spark Notes. And this shows my age. Cliff's Notes and Spark Notes been around forever, and they provide summaries of material, reading material, works of literature in different subjects, from English to sociology and psychology to the sciences. And of course, use Google, try Wikipedia, do any sort of internet search to help you find a general overview of the information you need to know. And those are suggestions to become critical readers. I hope that you've enjoyed this brief presentation. Bye-bye.